WJEL, Indianapolis.
Hello, Washington Township community. Happy February. This is your proud superintendent of schools, Dr. Woodson. In the studios today, in just a minute, we have senior Nyrae Mayes, who gets to interview me on all the rumors, urban myths, and lots of questions regarding our snow days this year. But before we get to that, I do want to have some community announcements. Kindergarten enrollment for next school year is already open, if you can believe that or not. We are all set for our big annual kindergarten jamboree on March 6th. Any elementary school, our website, or our central office can give you more details regarding kindergarten enrollment. We also have our next Washington Township Advisory Council coming up. This is where any community member, stakeholder, parent, staff member, or student can come and advise me and my administrative team on large, big district topics. That's coming up February 26th. More information on our website, of course. And our next parent council meeting is February 19th. We also have, as an announcement, February 17th, per our approved school board calendar, is a regular school day for all staff and students based on our snow days, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. I do want to invite the entire community to sign up for our Great North Run that is sponsored by our Washington Township Schools Foundation. Complete details are on our website. It is a community-wide event. Whether you have kids in school or not, it is a wonderful way to support our public schools in Washington Township. Also, always stay connected through Facebook, Twitter, and our district website for Washington Township Schools. You can subscribe to the monthly Soup Scoop video also via our website. And this month, we will be highlighting our very important department of our division of our district this year, the Transportation Division. It transports thousands of kids a day, and a lot of people don't know how that operation works. So we are going to highlight our transportation division this month on the Soup Scoop. Also, right here at our Career Center, our Light Cafe is open for lunch and breakfast on Wednesdays and Thursdays. You can dine in or carry out. Their phone number, if you want more information, is 259-5265. That's 259-5265. But we are here today to talk about the infamous 2014 weather that just hit us right away as we started the school year. And we have a senior here who gets to interview the superintendent. This rarely gets to happen. You are the envy of your entire class, because I get lots of questions about this, but very few get this one-on-one time with me. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you. You've got questions for me. I hopefully have lots of information to share and myths to bust. So I'm turning it over to you.
My first question is, since this winter has been so crazy and we've missed so many days of school, how do you think it's affected the whole school district?
Absolutely. Great question. And just to give you some data, some people may think, yes, it has been a crazy winter, but just to give you some data, we are on our 7th day of missed school due to snow days, and we have not seen that many snow days in over 20 years. Wow. Here in Washington Township. The next year that came close was back in 1998-99 school year, where we missed 5 days due to inclement weather, but we have not been close to 7 missed school days in a couple of decades. So this is really extremely unusual. And on top of the snow days, we are at 5 2-hour delays.
Wow.
So in my mind, when you talk about the impact to the schools, even the delays impact, that's 10 hours of missed instruction. That's how I calculate that on top of the missed snow days. Obviously, 2-hour delays we don't have to make up.
No.
So that's just 10 missed instructional hours that we have with kindergarten through 12th graders, and that does have an impact. We on our snow days, let's go to that. So on our calendar, we have missed 7 snow days. We do not have to make 2 of those up because we did submit through the Department of Education for a waiver that they allowed because of all of the snow days. They allowed for districts to submit for the first 2 days after we came back from winter break. And we did, and we got approved for those days not to be made up this year. The Department of Education has to make that decision. I, as superintendent, can't make that decision. Not even our Washington Township School Board can make that decision.
Wow. So who makes the decisions as far as cancellations of schools and the 2-hour delays?
Absolutely. I have explained this process so many times because it seems so easy to make the decision, but it is actually a very complex decision-making process. And so you have several things that happen. One, we constantly review the weather when it looks like it's going to be inclement weather. And this year, it's not just the road conditions that we've been concerned about for the first time in many, many years. It's actually cold temperatures in addition to road conditions. So those are two very different decision-making processes. So let's talk through cold weather. Many do not know that I woke up at 4:15 a.m. this morning to review the forecast in detail because of what was predicted for this morning. It was predicted minus 15 to minus 17 degree wind chills with a minus 5 to minus 10 degrees outside. So those temperatures were of concern. So I got up at 4:15 a.m., reviewed the current weather forecast, which it was not as bad as it was predicted. So we got down to 0, and there was almost 0 wind chill, meaning there wasn't the cold winds that makes it feel really, really cold, just did not happen as predicted. I got on the phone at about 5 a.m. with all of my 10 Marion County colleague superintendents, and we discussed the temperature. We discussed the temperature. Is it too cold for students to safely stand at a bus stop? Is it too cold for our buses to safely and effectively run on the streets, which in Washington Township, we have about a fleet of about 130 buses, so that's a lot of buses. Is it too cold for some of our buildings to operate effectively? All of those were decisions that we had to think about. And we came to the decision this morning that it was not too cold. It did not get as cold as it was predicted. So a couple of things. Had I made that decision yesterday, the forecast says it's going to be too cold, and it was a wide range that it said that it was going to be, and let's have a 2-hour delay or let's cancel school, it would have been too early to make that decision because, as you can see by what I described, it changed. So cold temperatures is really, really tricky to determine. What happened last month is our mayor made some decisions on behalf of the entire city, encouraging businesses and schools to delay and close on certain days. So on certain days last month, we were under the direction of the mayor. The other days for the cold weather, I was able to collaborate with my fellow superintendents and make decisions talking to people in the district. On days that it's going to be icy or snowy on the roads and we're concerned about road conditions, it's a bit of a different process. I still have to get up, but it's even earlier. Because if it is a day that it is kind of questionable, I'm not sure, it's not like it's 12 inches of snow, then you kind of know what's going to happen. But if it's, a few inches of snow and it's kind of slick, we're not sure, then I get up sometimes and I physically drive through neighborhoods, apartment complexes where our buses have to navigate. My director of operations is out looking at sidewalks and parking lots where staff have to park, and can they safely walk in? Once the students come to school, can they safely get into the school based on the conditions of our sidewalks? Do we have issues with our buses running properly at transportation? Can they navigate all the spaces they need to navigate inside of the neighborhoods? And then we have to consider, can the students even get to the bus stop safely? So there's lots of different angles that we have to look at when the roads are inclement with ice or snow. Not just students standing at a bus stop, but from facilities to the buses running routes effectively to the actual buses running. Lots of different angles.
So do you feel like some of the days that we have missed have been unnecessarily missed, or the 2-hour delays were really uncalled for, or do you feel as if every day was, it was the cancellation or the 2-hour delay was needed?
Sure, that's an outstanding question as well. I feel like when we are under the direction of the mayor, that we abide by his recommendation. And he has the safety of the entire city in mind. So it's hard for me in isolation to say, well, in Washington Township, I feel this way. I feel like I'm under the direction of the mayor. He is the mayor of the city, and I feel like when he makes a decision, I'm to follow that. So I don't question the mayor's decision making. when we have been able to make our own decisions in Washington Township, I feel like we've made the right decisions. Initially, parents and students may not see it as the right decision because they may say, well, I can see my bus stop. My bus stop was properly plowed. They don't have the vantage point of looking at the entire district. They don't know exactly what's happening in all of our facilities that may or may not have heat, that may have had busted pipes, that may have had issues with proper facilities or machinery running to make the school day function. They don't see the angle of our buses freezing up and not being able to start. And even out of 130 buses, if you have 17, 20 buses with issues, that impacts many children over a course of many hours. So those angles are harder to describe and explain when decisions are made. But thus far this year, I feel like we've just had a really unusual winter, and I do stand by the 2-hour delay and the no school day decisions that have been made.
Okay.
How do you feel about them? Is there a day that you think, well, why didn't we go to school on that day? Or why was there a 2-hour delay?
It has been 1 or 2 days where I've been like, I wish I was at school.
Okay.
You know, that's the last thing you want to hear out of a senior's mouth.
Sure, absolutely. No, we're
I feel like all the other days, the 2-hour delays, they were needed. So
yeah,
all I can do is just sit back and relax.
Sure, absolutely.
I've heard talk about us having Saturday school.
Ooh, hush.
Seniors having to go to school after graduation.
Ooh, after graduation, coming back. Keep going.
Or we have to, we won't have as many days on spring break. So
taking away days from spring break. Yes. All of those are things that are happening all around us because districts, public schools are required to maintain the number of required days by the Department of Education. So it's not a Washington Township or school board or superintendent choice as to whether we can just say, oh, we don't really want to make up those days, or oh, that those days are occurring after our scheduled graduation. Now, we don't have a choice. We have to get those days in for all of our students, including seniors. And I will even tell you, the Department of Education has the authority to remove funding, meaning money, from Washington Township if we don't adhere to that rule.
Wow.
So it is a serious matter for us to get in those days. So yes, we have districts surrounding us that are taking away some days of spring break. Currently, Washington Township is not considering taking away any days of spring break.
Okay. Good.
Some of the districts around us have a 2-week spring break, and that is a bit easier to take some of those days off when you have a 2-week spring break. We have a 1 week, and we are not looking at removing any of those days for students or staff. The Saturday school piece, we have reviewed that as an option to get in hours. We have lots of concerns in making that work. We have to have staff who are available to come in on those days. We have to transport students, which means bus drivers have to be available to come in on those days. We have to have students who are available to come in those days, and that's not, impeding on something else they had scheduled in their lives or their families. So there's lots of concerns with a Saturday school. We do not feel at this time that that is an option that we want to consider just because of all of the complications that that would have. Friday, the State Board of Education approved a new waiver. The first 2 days we had a waiver, we could say we want to waive these 2 days and not make them up. State Board of Education said okay. They have a conditional waiver now that was just approved on Friday. That says you can exchange time. So for instance, currently graduation for seniors yourself is scheduled for May 28th. And as you can see, based on our board approved school calendar, school goes through May 30th. So we could look at that conditional waiver and say, well, it's about 14 hours of school between May 29th and May 30th. Let's move those 14 hours into currently existing school days that occur before May 28th. So that means a longer school day. And she's rolling her eyes just so I can give the description of what I saw. And that is the feeling that a lot of people have. That's the option the Department of Education came up with.
I feel like that would be better, though, than having to come to school like after graduation or having to come to school on a Saturday. So
let me explain some concerns as superintendent that I have about those days. There is a financial price tag to doing that. Money that we don't have sitting around. We have to look at paying staff differently because they would be earning a different amount of money within a shorter period of time. And in some instances, that would mean overtime. We're not just talking about teachers. We're talking about all support staff, bus drivers, any staff that makes school work. We'd have to pay them longer on those days to make school work. That is if they are available longer on those days. Many of our staff members, teachers included, bus drivers included, have other jobs, have other responsibilities in their lives where that would prevent them from staying longer to make school work on certain days. It would be disruptive to family schedules. Some families have things scheduled, or older siblings are scheduled to watch younger siblings, lots of implications like that, that families that would impede on families. And it would create a great deal of inconsistency with only so many days doing a longer schedule. In addition, you tell me, by the time you get to the end of your day, if you are not academically tired and fatigued. To add to that, we're not sure how effective instruction, teaching, and learning would be to make it an even longer day on top of the 7-hour instructional day you already have right now. Imagine going 8 hours instead of 7. And what would that feel like? When does your learning, when does that brain turn off with learning? And as far as teaching, that's an extremely long day to teach as well. So we've got lots of concerns about that. Does that mean it's not an option? No, we just have lots of concerns. Let's talk about what the school board has already approved. The school board in October of 2013, October 2012, approved a school calendar for the 13-14 school year. And on that calendar, they approved February 17th as a makeup day, and then all other snow days would be added to the end of the year. So we are currently abiding by the school board approved calendar. To change those instructional days at all would require school board approval. Okay, so we are just functioning by what we published for families in October 2012. So for their planning, for staff planning, we are abiding by that approved calendar.
Okay. My next question, so I know that the teachers are under a contract, and how does the school cancellations and 2-hour delays affect their pay, or however that gets done?
Great question. For our teachers, they are under contract, and we have to abide by that contract legally. So to change what the board-approved school calendar means, we have to take a look at that contract with our teachers. For us to ask our teachers to come in on a Saturday or to stay longer than their current, not contractual hours, but their current hours that they work, would require us to collaborate with our teachers union. That is asking a lot. Our teachers don't just do school. They have families, they have lives. Sometimes they do other jobs or roles in our community outside of their teaching time. So that has a huge impact on the teachers' families and lives. Outside of our teachers, we have lots of support staff that make school happen too. And so when we have a snow day, for instance, some of our support staff members who are paid on an hourly basis, it's not a salary, they don't get paid if they are not here at school supporting staff. We have made some decisions as a district to pay some of those staff members on days that you've not been in that have been waived, but on some of those days they are not paid. So, for instance, we have a snow day today, for instance. Some of our staff members are not paid because they're not at work today. But we will have a makeup day for today. So those staff members will be paid for that makeup day that they will have to work. So you can see they get that money, but if you're budgeting or planning for your family, that money may not be right now in that paycheck that you counted on it. It may be later during that makeup day. So it's different for each employee. We have 1,500 employees in Washington Township that make school work every day for 11,000 students. So when you talk about changing anything, whether it's a snow day or adding hours or doing Saturday school, it's a huge impact because it impacts 1,500 people plus the 11,000 families.
So do you think the school cancellations and 2-hour delays will affect the students grade-wise, or do you How do you feel about that?
I would love to turn that one back on you as a learner. And as a senior, you know school, you're in your 12th year, 13th year, including kindergarten, of doing this thing you call school. Missing 10 hours with 2-hour delays and missing 7 instructional days, how do you think it will impact some of the testing that has to occur coming up for you and some of the year-end exams?
Well, I feel like, missing school, of course you're missing out on a day of learning. You do have to take initiative in yourself to, get up on the school cancellations when you're just at home doing nothing.
Bingo. Great suggestion.
And just
Students,
study.
did you hear your own peer say that?
And study or, read a book, do something to keep
Yes.
your mind going while you're not in school. As far as the 2-hour delays go, it shortens your time in class. So it's like, if you have any questions, like you can't really ask as many,
Right.
or
It's a condensed schedule at the high school.
or you probably just won't get to understand everything as well as you would have liked to because of the short time periods that we have. As far as testing at the end of the school year, I feel like it's just all on that student, because you have to, take initiative into yourself and study on your own so that you know what you're going to do in order for you to pass. It's not going to always be the teacher's fault. So
Sure. And,
or the
North Central, as well as our middle schools and elementary schools, have wonderful support systems in place. So even though you may feel like you've missed some instruction, that doesn't mean you don't have supports. So can you name some of the supports that you have available to you at North Central High School?
Well, the counselors are always there.
Absolutely.
It is certain teachers that are there as a support system. Couple friends, and
Big one you missed. Learning Center.
Oh, yes, the
Learning Center.
I don't go to the Learning Center as much.
Okay.
So.
But it is a wonderful resource,
it is.
and not every high school has that opportunity for students to receive extra support at any time from the Learning Center.
Yeah. So that's a big one as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are all my questions.
You didn't ask the question I thought you were going to ask. Are we moving graduation?
I wasn't worried about that because I know that that's scheduled in advance. The convention center, I already know. We will be there at 7 o'clock.
Okay. I will say that is one of the items that Washington Township and many school districts in Marion County are considering is changing the graduation date. We are looking at the pros and cons of keeping it on May 28th, as well as the pros and cons of moving it to that next week so that seniors don't have to come back after graduation for the required days that they have to get in. So on May 28th, if we keep it on May 28th, do you realize you would not get a diploma?
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely, because you have not completed
we should have it the next
your
week.
high school experience. You've not completed your senior year. It takes 2 more days to do that. Do you realize it is a potential if you graduate on May 28th to have to come back for 2 more days, obviously, but as a potential you may even have exams after graduation.
Yeah, so we should have it a week after. It'll be June.
So we are looking at the pros and cons. Obviously, there's cons to moving graduation, and there's pros to doing it. There's pros and cons to keeping it on May 28th as well. So we are weighing all of those options out heavily. We are going to talk with our school board about the pros and cons of the different options that we have in front of us tomorrow evening at our school board meeting. So you're welcome to come and hear about those. But we do have to think about a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's not just having graduation, giving out diplomas, and then asking you to come back and play for 2 days.
Yeah.
It's regular school for 2 days. And if it's regular school, we certainly can't issue diplomas on May 28th.
So if there was to be, if we was to have our graduation as it's set and seniors have to come back to school, if they don't come back to school, what would be the consequence?
It would be the same consequences you have right now with attendance, with missing an exam, missing an assignment, missing participation points, any kind of consequence you can think right now of just skipping school or not coming to school, you would have the same consequences depending on what you had on those days.
Okay. So, because I heard that if we don't come back to school, we don't get our diploma. So
all of those are potentials.
Oh, God.
It's the same attendance requirements and expectations that you have now would be the same expectations for attendance and participation after
Well, I feel like we should have our graduation a week later because I don't want to come back to school. Saturday school, I don't want Saturday school.
Sure. You echo the thoughts of a lot of your students, but I also hear that people have plans too. And so Grandma already has a ticket for May 28th to come and fly in, or we plan to go out of town immediately, after graduation. So there's lots of pros and cons to both that we're weighing out.
And that's a big one because the way that the economy is and money situations.
Absolutely.
So,
big decision making for Washington Township. I hope you can see none of these decisions are easy, that we have to look at it from multiple angles, from multiple aspects, looking at it from the parent view, the student view, the staff view, the operational view of the school district. And I never make these decisions in isolation. It's always with a large group of people giving me input. And I appreciate you interviewing me today. You did an outstanding job. You look fabulous, by the way. You look like you could be an actual reporter. So I just appreciate your time. What I'm going to ask you to do is go out and share with your colleagues and peers as seniors. Encourage anybody who wants to hear more information to come to the school board meeting tomorrow night, where we will share snow day implications with our school board. And a lot of information, of course, is on our website, as always. So thanks for joining me here in the WJEL studios. I will be back next month in March. If you have ideas for a show, this show actually was not planned. Our communications director, Ellen Rogers, is here in the studio, and we kind of came up with this idea because it's such a hot topic. So if you have a hot topic that you want us to cover in March, please let us know. You can access me at any time via email or phone call. All of my information is on our website. Thanks, WJEL, for hosting us as usual, and we'll be back next month.